Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you guys are using this time wisely and going outside and really getting the sunshine on your skin and making the best out of all of this. So we're continuing with our book, Polar Bears Past Bedtime Magic Treehouse series. And today we're going to be reading Chapter 4, Snow House. Okay. And here is the first page of Snow House, Chapter 4. All right, let's refer back to our plot mountain. Now that we are on Chapter 4, we are probably moving closer up to the climax, but we're not there yet. We are halfway through the book, but we're probably gathering details in this next chapter. So keep those predictions in your mind and see if they're correct or not. All right, Chapter 4, Snow House. The dog sled skimmed silently over the frozen tundra. The seal hunter ran alongside it. Sometimes he cracked his whip against the ice. The snowdrifts looked like giant white sculptures as the sun slipped behind the frozen hills. Then a full orange moon rose in the sky. The moonlight lit a small rounded igloo in front of them. The dogs slowed, then stopped. Jack stepped off the sled. Annie went to help unhitch the dogs. Jack took his book out and read about igloos. The word igloo means house in the language of native Arctic people. The house is built with blocks of snow, and the dry snow is good wall material because it keeps the heat in. The temperature inside an igloo can be 65 degrees warmer than the temperature outside. Jack took out his notebook. He pulled off his mitten just long enough to write, "Igloo means house." "Come on, Jack," said Annie. She and the seal hunter were waiting for him in front of the igloo. The dogs were leashed together outside. Jack hurried to join them. The hunter pushed aside the animal skins covering the entrance. They stepped inside. A fat candle burned brightly. Shadows danced on the wall of ice and snow. Jack and Annie sat on a fur-covered platform. They watched as the seal hunter moved about. First, he lit a small stove. Then he slipped outside. He came back with a snowball and chunks of frozen meat. He put the snowball in a pot over the stove. Then he added the meat. "What's he making?" asked Annie. Jack pulled out his book and found a picture of the hunter cooking. He and Annie read the words silently. There was a time when nearly all of the Arctic people's food and clothing and tools came from the Arctic animals, especially seals. Lamps were fueled with seal fat, clothing was made from sealskin, and knives and needles were carved from seal bones. "He must be boiling seal meat," said Jack. "The poor seals," said Annie. The seal hunter looked up. "They are not poor," he said. "They help us because they know that we would die without them." "Oh," said Annie. "In return, we always thank the animal spirits," said the seal hunter. "How do you do that?" said Jack. "We have many special ceremonies," said the seal hunter. He read under the fur-covered platform and took out 2 wooden masks. "Soon there will be a ceremony to honor the spirit of the polar bear," he said. "I carved these masks for the ceremonies." "The polar bears?" said Annie. "Yes," said the hunter. "Just as the seal has given us many gifts, so has the polar bear." "Like what?" said Jack. "Long ago, polar bears taught us how to live in the ice and snow," said the seal hunter. "Taught you?" said Jack. Can you give us some facts?" The seal hunter smiled. "Yes," he said. "The polar bear catches us a seal when the seal comes up to breathe through the hole in the ice. The oldest seal hunters watched the polar bears and learned. This is how my father taught me to seal hunt, as his father taught him." "That's a very good fact," said Jack. The first of my people learned to make igloos from polar bears," said the hunter. "Polar bears build snow houses by digging caves in the drifts. Another good fact, said Jack. The polar bear can even teach people to fly, said the seal hunter. That's an amazing fact, said Annie. Jack smiled. The rest sounded like true facts, he said, but I know that's pretend. The hunter just laughed, then turned back to his cooking. That's why he wasn't surprised to hear about the treehouse, Jack thought. If he believes polar bears can fly, he probably would believe anything. The seal hunter lifted the chunks of boiled seal out of his pot. He dropped them into the wooden bucket and gave it to Annie. Let's feed the dogs, he said. Oh boy, said Annie. She followed the hunter outside, swinging the bucket. Jack quickly threw his notebook and the Arctic into his backpack. He started to follow them. Then his gaze fell into the 2 bear masks. He picked them up to get a better look. Each was carved into the shape of a polar bear's face, with a blunt nose and roundish ears. There were 2 holes for eyes and a strap to hold it to your head. Suddenly, howls split the air. The dogs were barking and growling. Annie squealed. Are the dogs attacking her? Jack wondered. Annie! Still holding the bear mask, Jack charged out of the igloo. That is the end of chapter 4. So, we're getting more details about what exactly the polar bears mean, and we're getting more details about what exactly they'll be doing. So, we are rapidly rising to the climax, but we're not quite there yet. We're probably in this area. So, what do you think is going to happen in chapter 5 called You're It?